The envelope sat on his desk for 3 days before he opened it. Not because he didn't recognize the return address. He did. He knew exactly who it was from. He just didn't think she'd actually do it. When the paper slid out, crisp, legal, final, his hands went numb. Not shaking. Just gone. Like his body had stopped believing in itself. The lawyer across from him cleared his throat. "Mr. Ashford, do you understand what you're looking at?" He understood. He had no idea how it would turn out for him. 6 weeks earlier, Daniel Ashford thought he had everything figured out. The divorce was filed. The settlement was drawn. His lawyer, the best in the state, told him it was a clean win. His wife hadn't worked in years. She had no claim to his business. No leverage. No fight left. She'd signed the papers without a word. He remembered that moment. The way she held the pen. The way she looked at him. Not with anger, not with tears, but with something else. Something that made his stomach turn. "You're sure about this?" she'd asked. "I'm sure," he'd said. She nodded. Left. And he thought that was the end of it. That was the moment everything began to unravel. This is her value stories. For anyone who's ever underestimated someone they thought they knew. If you're new here, take a moment to subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Before we continue, tell me in the comments. Have you ever realized too late that you misjudged someone? Now let me tell you how Daniel Ashford lost everything he thought he owned. Daniel wasn't a bad man. At least, that's what he told himself. He was a builder. Started his construction company from nothing. Worked 70-hour weeks for 15 years. Built half the commercial real estate in Shasta County. Earned every dollar. Deserved every success. His wife, Claire, had been there in the beginning. Back when it was just him, a truck, and a dream. She'd kept the books. Answered phones. Packed his lunches at 4 a.m. before job sites. But that was a long time ago. Somewhere along the way she became background. The woman who kept the house. Who smiled at charity events. Who asked how his day was and didn't seem to notice when he stopped answering. He didn't hate her. He just didn't see her anymore. And when he met Vanessa, young, sharp, ambitious, someone who actually listened, it felt like waking up after years of sleep. The affair lasted 8 months before Claire found out. He expected tears. Shouting. Broken dishes. Instead she went quiet. "I want a divorce," she said. "Fine," he said. And that was that. Claire had stopped crying 3 years before the divorce. That was the night Daniel came home at 2 a.m., smelling like perfume that wasn't hers, and told her he'd been at a work dinner. She didn't believe him. But she also didn't fight. Because somewhere in the fog of 15 years, Claire had become a ghost in her own life. She raised their son. She managed the house. She smiled at the right people. She made herself small. And Daniel never noticed. Until the day she walked into his office and told him she knew about Vanessa. He looked relieved. Like she'd given him permission. "I'll make this easy," he said. "You can have the house. I'll cover expenses. But the business is mine." She nodded, signed the papers, and left. What Daniel didn't know, what he never thought to ask, was what Claire had been doing for the past 3 years while he was busy not seeing her. She had been paying attention. The first sign came 2 weeks after the papers were signed. Daniel's accountant called. "We've got a problem." "What kind of problem?" "The IRS is auditing us. They're saying there are discrepancies in the business filings going back 5 years. Daniel's chest tightened. "That's impossible. Claire handled the books back then." Silence. "Exactly," the accountant said. Daniel showed up at the house. His house, the one he'd given Claire in the settlement, unannounced. She answered the door in jeans and a sweater, hair tied back, no makeup. She looked different. Lighter. "What did you do?" he said. "I signed the divorce papers," she said calmly. "Like you asked. The IRS is auditing me, Claire." "I know. You know." She leaned against the doorframe. "I filed the complaint 6 months ago." His heart stopped. "You what?" "I found the discrepancies, Daniel. The ones you didn't think I'd notice." The income you didn't report. The expenses you inflated. The offshore account you thought was hidden. You had no right. I had every right, she said quietly. I was your business partner for 10 years. My name was on those early filings. If you go down, I go down. So I reported it first. Cooperated fully. They gave me immunity. He stared at her. You destroyed me. No, she said. You destroyed yourself. I just stopped covering for you. He closed the door. Daniel sat in his lawyer's office 3 days later, hands shaking. She can't do this. She signed the settlement. She agreed. She agreed to the divorce, the lawyer said. Not to staying silent about fraud. It's not fraud. It's tax evasion, Daniel. And she has documentation. Emails. Spreadsheets. Recorded conversations. Daniel's mouth went dry. Recorded. The lawyer slid a transcript across the desk. It was a conversation from 2 years ago. Daniel and his business partner, joking about how much they'd saved by funneling expenses through shell companies. How the IRS would never catch it. How Claire didn't understand money anyway. She recorded us. California's a 2-party consent state, the lawyer said. But she wasn't recording you. She was recording the business discussion as the company's bookkeeper. Perfectly legal. Daniel's vision blurred. How much am I looking at? If they find you liable, between penalties, back taxes, and legal fees, you're looking at losing the business. The properties. Possibly prison time. The room tilted. What do I do? The lawyer exhaled. You settle. Yes. Before this goes federal. But it got worse. Because Claire wasn't done. 3 days later, Daniel's business partner, Greg Navarro, called him, voice tight with rage. Did you know Claire filed a civil suit? What? She's suing the company for unpaid wages. Says she worked as the firm's bookkeeper for 10 years and was never properly compensated. She has timesheets, emails, proof of work. Daniel laughed bitterly. She was my wife. She didn't need wages. That's not how the labor board sees it, Greg snapped. She's claiming she was an employee. And guess what? She's right. We never filed her as one. We never paid payroll taxes on her work. Which means we're liable. How much? $160,000. Plus penalties. Daniel sank into his chair. She planned this. Yeah, Greg said. She did. Flashback. 12 years earlier. Claire had always been good with numbers. It was one of the first things Daniel loved about her. The way she could look at a mess of receipts and invoices and see the story underneath. You're spending too much on materials, she'd said one night. Spreadsheets covering their tiny kitchen table. I know, he'd said. But I can't find a better supplier. You're not looking hard enough. He found one. Saved him 30%. He kissed her forehead. What would I do without you? Probably go bankrupt, she teased. He laughed. But somewhere along the way, her contributions stopped feeling like partnership. They started feeling like duty. When Daniel hired a real accountant, he didn't ask Claire if she minded. When he started making decisions without her, she didn't fight. And when she asked quietly if she could go back to school, maybe finish her degree, he said, "We don't really have the budget for that right now." A year later, he bought a boat. Present day. Daniel tried calling her. She didn't answer. He tried showing up at the house again. She wasn't there. He finally caught her at the grocery store. Of all places, loading bags into the trunk of a car he didn't recognize. "Claire, please. We need to talk." He turned. "No, we don't. I made mistakes. I know that. But you're destroying everything I built." "We built," she said. "You just forgot that part. I'll make it right. You'll what, Daniel? Pay me what I'm owed. Admit you committed fraud. Apologize for 15 years of being invisible." Her voice didn't rise. It didn't break. It was worse than anger. It was indifference. "I spent 15 years making you successful," she said. "And you thanked me by cheating, lying, and throwing me away the second I stopped being useful. That's not. Yes, it is. She closed the trunk. I don't want you back, Daniel. I don't want revenge. I just want what I earned. She got in the car. He stood there, frozen. The IRS settlement came first. Daniel lost the business. Not all of it, but enough. The commercial properties were seized. The offshore accounts frozen. His credit destroyed. Greg Navarro dissolved their partnership. Vanessa left him 2 weeks later. I didn't sign up for this, she said. He wanted to be angry, but he was too tired. The labor suit came next. Claire's lawyer presented 15 years of documented work. Emails she'd sent on behalf of the company. Vendor negotiations. Payroll she'd processed. Tax filings she'd prepared. All unpaid. Daniel's lawyer tried to argue that she'd been a spouse, not an employee. The judge wasn't buying it. Mr. Ashford, did your wife perform work that benefited your business? She helped. Yes. Was she compensated? Silence. Mr. Ashford. No. The judge awarded Claire $160,000 in back wages, plus penalties, plus interest. Total. $240,000. Daniel didn't have it. The final blow came from an unexpected place. His son, Ethan Ashford, was 22. In college. Daniel hadn't seen him much in the past few years. Too busy with work, with Vanessa, with everything except the people who mattered. Ethan called him one night. I need you to stop calling Mom. Ethan, I just want to talk to her. She doesn't want to talk to you, Dad. She's your mother. You don't understand. I understand that you cheated on her. I understand that you treated her like she didn't matter. And I understand that when she finally stood up for herself, you tried to make her the villain. Daniel's throat closed. I never meant. Yeah, Ethan said quietly. You never meant a lot of things. He hung up. Daniel sat in his empty apartment, a rental now, nothing like the house he used to own, and stared at the ceiling. He thought about the moment Claire signed the divorce papers. The way she looked at him. Not with anger. With pity. Like she already knew what was coming. And he'd been too arrogant to see it. He wrote her a letter. Not an email. Not a text. Letter. He didn't ask for forgiveness. He didn't beg her to stop the lawsuits. He just apologized. For not seeing her. For taking her for granted. For thinking that success meant he didn't need her anymore. He mailed it. He didn't expect a response. If this story reminds you of someone you lost or almost lost, share it with them. Sometimes the hardest truth is the one we need most. 3 weeks later, Claire called him. I got your letter. His heart stopped. I didn't write it to change your mind, he said quickly. I needed you to know. Silence. I know, she said. More silence. I'm not taking you back, Daniel. I know. And I'm not dropping the suits. I know. But, she exhaled. Ethan misses you. And whether you deserve it or not, you're still his father. Daniel's eyes burned. I don't know how to fix this. You can't, she said. But you can stop making it worse. 6 months later, Daniel ran into Claire at Ethan's graduation. She was standing with a man Daniel didn't recognize. Kind eyes. He had his hand on the small of her back. Daniel's chest tightened. But he didn't approach. He just watched as she laughed, really laughed, at something the man said. She looked happy. And for the first time in a long time, Daniel didn't feel angry. He felt something worse. He felt the weight of everything he'd lost. Not the business. Not the money. After the ceremony, Claire walked over. Daniel. Claire. The man stayed back, giving them space. Congratulations, Daniel said. Ethan did great. He did. Silence. You look good, he said. I am good, she said simply. And she was. He could see it. I'm sorry, he said. For all of it. She nodded. I know. She didn't say she forgave him. But she didn't have to. Because forgiveness wasn't the point. Healing was. And she was already there. Thank you for spending this time with Her Value Stories. If this story moved you, like and subscribe. Your support helps us keep telling stories that matter. What part of this story stayed with you the most? Tell me in the comments. Daniel learned what so many people learn too late. That the people who love you aren't invisible. They're just quiet. Until the day they're not.